Okay, so I wanted to go over the graphic design homage project with a second graphic designer so you can see a couple different ways or a couple different versions of how I would approach this. So again, make sure you're in Pixlr Editor. Just use the link in your classroom if you don't remember. It is up here, Pixlr Online Image. There's a link here. Just go ahead and click that and that'll open up your image editor. Make sure that you are looking at the dimensions that I'm asking for the project. Should always be the first thing you look at, 1024 by 768. So I'm going to choose 1024 by 768 and then click OK. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to pick another artist. Remember, the subject, we should have something to do with some sort of current event. Um, so the corona or COVID, social distancing, all that kind of stuff would be a great subject. So Alt Akir was the first designer that I went and did an homage to. He was very famous for some of his work he did in the 70s, especially around the Olympics. I just liked the bright colors and the way that it kind of used this posterized effect. And the second one, I believe, is down at the bottom that I saw. This one here, Paula Shear. This is a great, again, it just reminds me of punk rock street art type of thing. So I'm going to do an homage to her. So first thing to do, again, go into Google, search Paula Shear. She'll usually come up in the search here. Go to your images. I always like to find the image that I'm going to be working on. So it's this guy here, this poster. I'm going to save the image as, save it to your desktop. You can name it. I'm just going to name it Paula, and then click save. I want to have that up so I can see it as I work. So let's go ahead. Let's open up File, Open Image, and I'm going to start my homage. So I have Paula here. So first thing I want to do is I want to get that background color exactly the color she has it. So I'm going to get my color picker and pick that yellow. So there's no mistake about what color that is. And then go to my image here and fill that background. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I just like to zoom out so I can actually see the edges. And then let's go back and sort of take a look at her design and dissect it at this point. So one of the things that stands out about her design in this particular poster is the bright background, which is what we've already done already. But she has this picture, this image sort of this person dancing, but it's in this sort of black and white, which creates a great contrast with the yellow. So she's got an image here. It's not necessarily the main focal point because of all this text, but it's definitely one of the focal points, but it's black and white to contrast that yellow. So I am going to open up an image that I already downloaded. I found this image online of this little boy with a stop sign. So I am going to grab my lasso tool and I am going to lasso him out. So again, with the constraints that we have because of the virtual learning and not being able to use Photoshop, just do the best you can with your selections. Obviously, try to make them as clean as possible. You can see how fast I'm going. After your selection, you can also clean up your selection with the erase tool. Just make sure any excess stuff that you got in with your selection that you do not want, you remove. But again, I completely understand as I grade, I am grading with the understanding that we're not using our primary sort of tool that we should be using. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this selection, round it off here. All right, so edit, copy. It says copy. I'm going to close this. No, I don't want to save it. Edit, paste. So I like to see the edges because I want to see, in relation to how big, my figure is. I think that's way too big. I'm just going to take the erase tool and very quickly just clean up some of these edges, especially around the head here. Again, not spending too much time cleaning up the edges, just enough so it doesn't look like an absolute disaster. All right, so again, looking at the example, looking at Paula Scheer, she doesn't have the person in that image sort of oversized. So I'm going to do the same thing, and you can see the person head to toe. So I'm just going to try to, again, replicate it as closely as possible. So edit, transform, and let's bring this guy way down. And I like that. And if you notice in her poster, let's go ahead and apply those changes. The other thing you want to notice is the person is not dead center, right? There's some asymmetry. So asymmetry means when things aren't necessarily perfectly symmetrical. So he's not dead center. He's kind of off over to the left a little bit. So again, I'm going to use that same technique. I'm not going to put him dead center, but I'm not going to put him all the way to the left. I'm not going to put him all the way to the right, but I'm going to have him kind of off center to the left a little bit. All right, now I want to create that contrast. So I'm going to go to Adjustment, Hue and Saturation, and take out all the saturation. We don't want any saturation in there. I take it all the way out so it's black and white so I can have that contrast. And that's what we need for the black and white. So let's see what. All right, so now that we have that contrast, we've taken all the color out of this image. We want to, again, continue to keep going back to the original art to sort of deconstruct it. So the next thing you notice, obviously, is the text. But not just the text, but look how the text is arranged. You've got different weights of text. You have some thicker text, some thinner text. You have text going from side to side. You have text that's flipped and it's going vertically. You have text that's kind of on an angle. So that's what we want to replicate. Also, you have some text mixed in that are red, white, and you have some lines. Remember, lines are elements of designs. So let's try to replicate that. So I'm going to start now. I'm going to change back to black here, use my text tool, and I'm just going to type in all caps, stay. All right, maybe make that a little bigger. All right, and I'm going to keep that weight because I like that weight to start off. And let's rasterize this layer so we can actually transform it. So let's transform this, and let's just flip it on its side. Hit enter to accept that. Now let's do some more text. Maybe we're going to do home this time. This time, let's make home. Let's give it some more weight to it. Bold. And remember, again, we're not in Photoshop, so we don't have all the options, the tracking, right? The spacing in between all the letters or the kerning, the spacing between individual. We don't have those options, so we just work with what we have. Let's increase the size a little bit and then click OK. All right, and then we can move this guy here. Let's move stay. Let's grab that layer, move stay up here. Let's move home right next to it. So we're already starting to see that style. All right, maybe we make a new layer here. Let's close this history panel so we don't get confused. So I'm going to create a new layer, and let's create a line right underneath this. Just a line. Grab your paintbrush so we can paint that in black. Let's make sure you get it all. Edit. Deselect. So we have stay home. We can write in another one down here. Let's keep that nice and big. And keep that with regular weight. And maybe we transform that layer, rasterize that layer, edit, free transform. No, Oops, we want to put that back here. All right, so we're going to put keep again, and then click OK to accept that. And now we want to rasterize that layer. All right, then edit, transform, and let's put this at a bit of an angle. All right, and then maybe now again, let's play around with the weights of the font. So let's do another, and let's do distance. Let's make this smaller. When we're just playing around here, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Let's make it smaller, but let's make it bold. Right? And then let's add in your. We can put that here. And we can image, or I'm sorry, layer, rasterize. Let's transform this like that. Let's bring distance over here. Edit, transform. Oh, we got to rasterize it first. Edit, transform, and we'll rotate this a little bit. Enter, and then you just move it around. So that's another way. Obviously, I'm not going to do the entire thing, but you would just keep going until you fill out this whole area so it looks like this image. You can see that the words almost look like they're pressing up against each other, that they're moving around, that they're trying to find room on the poster to fit. So it gives the poster energy, right? It gives it a lot of energy. So try to replicate this. Maybe throw in some. If I were to continue this, I'd throw in maybe some text on top of text and maybe make it white. So maybe you could take this stay and make it white and put it over the H. Put some red text in there if you can find it. Add some lines. So don't just have lines going side to side, but maybe up and down too. These are things that I'm just seeing in the design itself. So as you build out your designs, make sure that you are looking for all the little nuanced things that the artist did and try to replicate those things. That's the best way to pay homage to an artist.